Are going to paint something with solid acrylic and do not want to have it as bright a color as this, then you'll have to add some white with it, or you can do like watercolor and add water to it. So I'll do both for you. Here is, you see that one is and Liquitex Basic is the really student grade of Liquitex. You probably can pick that up at Michael's or Hobby Lobby, and it usually is a little cheaper. It has the same that I used to have Liquitex come and speak to all my students until they decided they couldn't go to community colleges. But it has the same amount of pigment in there, so the color is the same as the more professional grade of Liquitex. It just has more extender, so it's not going to last as long, which makes it cheaper. So on this next row, I'm going to try yellow background on this square. And right away, you can see that the color, and I didn't add any white within this yellow. The color for the background is far more brilliant. This is just the little bit of the Liquitex and my brush being a little tiny wet before I mix the color in the space. So, and because I'm on paper, that makes a difference too than if I was on canvas. So, and I have lots of different paint available here, and I'm just going to use what I have, and not all Liquitex. This is Nova Color. It is the same quality of paint as Liquitex. You can only buy it online, and it basically, a lot of artists will use that. It's not a student grade paint, but I can put my cool turquoise down, and I'm putting this one on a little bit thicker. I'm not even putting it on my palette. I'm doing it straight out of my color pot here. I'm cleaning my brush. And if this was a watercolor brush that I'm painting with right now, I definitely wouldn't be going back and forth from watercolor to acrylic, but this is just a really general brush. I even paint boxes and backgrounds of frames and things with it. So it's not falling apart. It's got a nice body. I have it handy, so I'm just going to use it for these backgrounds. Alright, so I said I would add white to a color. This one is Artist Lost, which is a Michael's cheap color of paint, and I'll use it in backgrounds. So I'm adding a little red there, and to lighten it up, I'm going to add white. This one is even cheaper than that Michael's Artist Waff, and like I said, I use this inexpensive paint in the background, so I'm going to put it out for this assignment. And mix those two colors together. Now, a lot of artists will only use a palette knife to mix. But I have my brush handy, so I'm going to lighten the color. Normally, if it's a big background, I'd mix my background color with gesso, because that will actually go farther. And you can see even those two little squirts of color. That's one of the problems with this kind of acrylic, because this will dry right away, is that you waste paint. So that's why for this I use the cheaper. And the same thing. This has a lighter value because I added white to it. So this whole row, I'm just going to do variations of colors that's up on the top. So these two probably stay warmer toned, and these two over here cooler toned. So I have one more before I move on. There's another Artist Loft light blue. I bought these last fall when they were on sale, and I was able to get 2 colors for the price of 1. So I thought that was a good sale and bought several. And the trouble with your acrylics like these, if you leave them in the tube a long time, the tube will dry out, or the bottle will dry out too. So they don't last as indefinitely as watercolor or Golden Open. Put a lighter blue there. Alright, I'm going to change plates. I have another clean plate here. Got one with black on it, but it's dry. And this is the Golden Open, which works like oil paint, but it's acrylic, washes up with water. That's why I wanted to change plates. There's a Hansa yellow, which is a nice medium yellow. And this is, let's go with a brownish tone. This is burnt sienna. I definitely use this when I'm painting on digital pieces because I want that undertone to come through. It's nice and easy to control, just like an oil paint. And mix these two colors a little bit. Oh, right away you may see the difference on how two colors next to each other will mix. It's got a more buttery look to it. It's more similar to oil. So I'll start with this rectangular shape. See, my brush strokes are showing with this brush a little bit more. The body of it is completely different than the other two types of paint. I'm double loading the color, some brown and some yellow. Letting it blend, even though this is paper, if this was canvas, this would look